thinking about this topic, it was very relevant because of COVID, and libraries never really have enough money. I do want to show you this very quick video. Oh, and I think I optimized it. So hopefully you can hear it. It's very short. Can you hear it?
I like the library because I like how there's so much books that you can read and play. My favorite thing to do is I'm with my friend Phoenix. We go on the computers together and read lots of books together. It's so fun. My favorite books to read is Disney books and action books, stuff like that. I think they built this library so everybody can have fun and read and have a spot to read and play games and have fun. I want them to know when they come here, they can do whatever they want here and be free to learn as much as they want.
Could you hear that okay?
Oh, yes, I did. I replied in chat. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't, the chat didn't come up. And during National Library Week every year, there's always a push for advocacy with a heavy emphasis on outreach. And we'll talk about that ROI, the library return on investment, as we know, we can kind of quantify it and we can make our case. And I think, there are many people that have publications on it, but we have to keep it very easy for people to understand the value of libraries. And that's the main thing. Oh, sorry. Gotta go forward. There we go. So here's my plan. We have our budget meetings in April, as I was telling Mike, and we never have enough money. There are things that we want, and our budget at Pima, our materials budget at Pima has gone from $1 million to $761,000 in the 8 years I've been there. This is the end of I'll be 8 years in August or September. And we've never had enough money, and there's always things that we want. Just this week, we had a request to buy 10 high-level video cameras and create bags of a kit for a faculty member to film their instruction. And we largely operate on what we call a BYOD, bring your own device. And so this idea that the library would provide the equipment is relatively new to Pima, but the University of Arizona, which is right down the road, they have a lending library for faculty, staff, and students that include all this stuff. So we're having to reallocate money from the capital budget that we usually use for print materials and buy technology. And that's new to us. And a lot of people are not happy about it. They want to buy tons of books. But so we'll discuss dealing with cuts. It really does start with effective collection development. Liz, have you taken LI 855 yet? Oh, I better check the chat. LI 855 is the chat's not coming.
I have taken LI 855.
Yeah, I couldn't find the chat. So yeah, and you have too, both you guys have. So that class really helps create that foundation, because purchasing materials is probably what I do most at different times of the year. Like, we just got our money on the 1st, I had to make sure it was in Banner. So I went in Banner, I'm like, oh, we got our money. So that's when I start really seeing what requests I had. We don't purchase at all in June because we need it to hit by June 30th. We try to stop May 15th, but every now and then we have something take a little bit longer. But, and the deselection, you remember from 855, you talked about weeding and deselection. So the selection and how you evaluate resources and the deselection will make any budget cut much, well, it's always painful when you lose money, but you can kind of prioritize what's being used. And the key with all of this is that community needs analysis and figuring out what your patrons want, and also being able to communicate with them. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I have like 3 objectives. Identify the role of the collection in managing library budget reductions. It's super important that you understand what you buy. It determines when you lose money. I'm never a fan of what we call a standing order. I don't know if you've heard that term before. Have you guys heard that term before, a standing order? You can put in the chat. I can see the chat now. So the standing order would be a vendor comes to me and says, hey, you've got to purchase this for this, and you have to keep this in order to keep this. So it's always going to be. So if I remove that standing order that's in there, it's going to stop the trigger for other things. And it's built into the budget. It could be a serial. Sometimes with a serial, we've gotten away from all print journals because EBSCO does a great job in providing e-formats of those. Our second goal would be define and describe creative ways to offset library budget reductions. Got to be creative, got to think outside the box. And then finally identify the role of library advocacy and sufficient library funding. It is a challenge when you get a budget, and like we did, and the budget, our expenses are more than what we're getting, and then you've got to sit there and say, okay, where can we trim? Where can we remove that? So I made these little blocks: the library budget, the collection, deselection, the ROI, the library ROI, the community needs analysis, which Stan teaches a great class, LI 811, that I would encourage you to take. Have you guys taken 811 yet? Did you take it, Mike? Are you guys there?
No, I believe that one is an elective, and I did not take that one.
It is an elective, and if you get a chance, well, you're almost done, but the book for that class is pretty amazing, and I believe that Emporia has a free e-resource. But that community needs analysis, sometimes people will call it a community needs assessment, and some people use LibQual. They're I'll just show you real quick. I'd like to teach about LibQual, because you could get a job with them too. They hire librarians all the time. And so LibQual, BYU uses LibQual usually every 3 years is how, when we were at the U of A, that's how we used it, University of Arizona. But they help you get those analytics and that information that so you can, plan to serve your community, your patrons. So then we have addressing budget reduction challenges, because there are challenges. You don't have money, but you've already agreed or signed a contract with certain people. And that's why you hope your timing is really good and you make that decision. Otherwise, it could roll over and you could be bound to purchase this because you didn't have all your ducks in a row. We've gone to, and I will finish up with tips for fundraising, because I'm pretty good at that. That's where I think my extroversion kicks in. One of the challenges with working with vendors is they're really aggressive and they know exactly how much money you have, but they're relying on last year's budget. And many times you have to set up tickler systems so you know exactly when you need to make decisions. We've gone to Canopy and Swank for video, and those are paid per view. So we put a lot of money in that account at the beginning of the year, and then when it's used up, it's used up. Many times what we had to do over the last couple of years is reduce that, and because we'll put a line number in of say $10,000 for Swank, and then we're like, okay, well, maybe because we have to cut somewhere, we'll take out 5, and then it'll just be $5,000. And then when it's done, it's done. And it will tell the user that. It'll say, contact your university about viewing this item. So a little bit about me. I mean, Mike knows about me, and clearly Wusab does, and Liz, you might not, but I lived in Kansas for 5 years, and I was hired by Emporia in August 2010, and I still say that was the best day ever. And I used to go down to Emporia all the time, stay down there, and I've been teaching there for, this is the end of my 11th year. Yeah, 11th year. August, it'll be my 11-year anniversary. I currently work at Pima Community College. That's in Catalina State Park, that picture. It's very desert here. Today it was raining though, because we had monsoon. I have degrees. I have 63 units towards a PhD that I didn't finish, which means absolutely nothing. I didn't do the dissertation. I reside in Tucson. I presented at conferences over the years. I've presented at ACRL to 1,500 people, which was the scariest experience of my life. And then Computers in Libraries a few times. And then a lot of regional conferences, Arizona Library Association. And those have been wonderful experiences. And here's I was looking at this the other day. I've worked in libraries at, these 4 institutions and got my start at ASU and worked at University of Arizona. I have degrees from all 3 state schools, Northern Arizona, U of A, and ASU. So if you came in my office, they're all on the wall at Pima. And I've been at Pima. I like to think Pima is my last job because I'm old and I probably will stay in it for a while. This is the end of my 8th year working in my position. So let's jump into the library budget, and I have examples. So a couple things about a budget. You know what a budget is. We have our personal budget, and a library budget is no different. It's really the statement of our financial position. And the problem with the budget is that it's based on estimates a lot of times. So at Pima, if enrollment goes down, they might take money back from us in the spring. So we have to be very careful in our spending. And they teach us that when we go through training on working with money. We use a clearinghouse approach rather than one person. There are 7 of us that participate in these kind of discussions about budget, and it is fair and it's equitable and it's transparent. So we know exactly what we're buying. We have 5 physical libraries, and actually our e-resource bill was $361,000, and our collection budget is close to $700,000. So we're spending a lot more money on E than we ever have before. And E would be ebooks, streaming video, and databases. We have 77 databases right now, and largely through EBSCO. We have EBSCO. Have you guys heard of EBSCO? I'm trying to get some engagement, but I don't even know that. So I think I see a yes at 114. So Liz has heard of EBSCO. Yeah, a lot of your state libraries will purchase the EBSCO package, and that seems to be they're comprehensive general databases that anybody can use. Okay. So here's some things on the library budget. It should be maintained and containing all the relevant details. And the more documentation, the better. When you see our budget, you're going to see the broad overview budget for the Pima libraries. You won't see a lot of detail, but if you went into other documents, you would see exactly. And there are manuals of how you spend this money. You've been given this responsibility with taxpayer money. We're funded by homeowners in Pima County. And the college budget is probably $172 million, so that they have money in the budget. We just have to be very fiscally responsible with that fiduciary responsibility that we have to the taxpayers, and we are very transparent, and we're pretty insightful. Although I will tell you, last week I bought a microphone from Best Buy, and I was told that I can no longer purchase from Best Buy. I have to buy everything from Amazon because we get a discount. We have a discount program with them. So I've been buying at Best Buy forever, and now we've switched it. Most of us at my level at Pima, there is we have one president, we have like 5 vice presidents, we have 11 deans, and then I think we have 40 directors, and I'm at the director level. So like middle management, I guess. All of us have purchasing power, and we are issued Pima Community College travel and credit cards. So we're giving credit cards to purchase materials. That is all done through a system called Concur, and it's very heavily monitored, very transparent. It's a very easy system to use too.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, my watch asked me a question. If we go through this, it should be based on object classification, and what you're buying should have a definition. And we had this conversation in the spring so I buy this monograph, a book, and I buy this tablet. Do I treat them differently? Meaning, what's the replacement cost? I got like a $300 tablet and a $50 book. I mean, should the conditions be different? Well, the replacement cost is going to be what the item is many times. And clearly with a laptop, or we have laptops, we have hotspots. Are you guys familiar with hotspots? So we let you check out the internet to use at home. We have those hotspots, and those are always checked out. I don't think there's one in the library right now. I was looking today. And we do let the staff check them out, anybody, faculty, staff, or students, but they're a hot commodity because it's, you know, it's free information. It's the internet free. So, you know, we have object classification. We work in a triple I system called Sierra for all of this, and everything is coded in there. And we know exactly where it relates to the budget. We know what part of the capital budget it's going to be in. So the budget estimate should be framed carefully. It's better to be conservative and hold back than, you know, I don't want to say save for a rainy day, but it's better to space out your spending. So if something does happen and you're required to give money back, you actually have it. The one thing about Pima and other places I've worked is other departments can help you if there's a problem with something. We're working on a shared purchasing program. Well, we just decided today that we're going to work with the Faculty Resource Center, the Teaching and Learning Center, and IT to purchase more technology. Because if we all get together, it gives us a better way to leverage our resources. So there's operating capital costs. And at Pima, we cannot take money that we would buy for materials and move it into staff salaries. We just can't. And it's just the way it's set up. And the terms that we use are a little bit different, but you have to understand there's certain costs of doing business that are set and others might change. So here's the Pima Community College budget. This is public record. It is online and available. This is 2021, and 21-22 will come out in the next couple weeks. But so under operating expenses, you can see the materials budget, which is on one side, is, you know, $664,000. So that's, you know, some of that contractual services is EBSCO, supplies and materials. We can float this money around. We can move this around if we need to in this area. So if there were some more contractual services, we could move from capital expenditures over, depending on how it's documented. And supplies and materials, it used to be a lot more, but now it's about $81,500. So that's anything to maintain the 5 campus libraries. And here you can look at the biggest expense, at least for our library, is salaries. And so I think we have 14. Yeah, 14. There's only 13 on here, but I think we have 14. I think we got another position this year. So we have 14 faculty librarians, and that compensation package is $1 million plus that 2,000. One of our librarians is 10-month, so that 2,000 actually goes to him because we created a 12-month contract. Or these are months. There's 12-month and 9-month, but we have 1 10-month, and that's what that additional compensation is. So for our faculty, it's $1 million, you know, dollars right there. For our exempt staff, which are non-hourly, we have 2 of those. That's $165,000. So it's our director and then our library technical services manager. Non-exempt, these are all our hourly people. Does this make sense to you guys? You can put yes or no in the box. So these are their salaries based on their hourly rate. So the way they're listed, so we have 5 campuses. So there's about 2 or 3 library specialists on each campus. And there's I think a technician on 2 because they're smaller campuses. So we do include everything in there. So here's other compensation, $62,000. Now that $62,000 is our temp fund. So we use that to hire people temporarily. We actually are hiring people right now because we have a couple people that are on FMLA and we have to secure their jobs. And So this money is sitting there, and we use it for that. If you go down the operating expenses, these are additional operating expenses, communications, utilities, travel, very small travel budget. And that usually, in addition to this, we all get travel money through the our faculty enrichment funds. At least this group does, the librarians. Staff have a different opportunity. They can apply for a grant to travel to a conference. But if you look at the library budget, it's about $2.7 million. And the majority of that is salaries. And I did put it on the next slide. So this might give you some indication of how we manage it. It's a lot of money when you look at it, right? I mean, $1 million for faculty. Then you've got your exempt, which is your salaried, and then you have your hourly. So it's, close to $2 million, 1.8. And then we have operating expenses here. So our materials budget and supplies and everything is about $761,000. It used to be $1 million, but they reduced it over the years. Print is not circulating like it used to. So excellent. Print doesn't circulate like it used to. I would guess the last time I've seen a circulation report that 80% of our items have never circulated, never. And, we weed after a certain amount of time. We're already weeding multiple copies as they come in. Older versions sometimes, unless they're part of the classics or needed for a program, we're weeding all the time. They're weeding right now. There are people in the library right now weeding. Let's talk a little about the collection. So effective collection development is the key. So if you buy the right stuff, the budget cuts can be pain-free. Have a handle on those standing orders. Know the ones you've committed to. And you usually have like a fiscal support person that will handle all the bills. That's the person at our library, it's Penny, and you want to become very close with her. You're a person like that, so you understand the process. And that's important. Work with vendors as soon as you know you have lost funding. As soon as you have to make some cuts, you call Joel Pratt at EBSCO and you say, Joel, guess what? We got problems. We have to work this out. And you become friends with some of these vendors. It's about building relationships. And I'm trying to think, Greg, I can't think of Greg's last name now, but Greg and Joel Pratt, Greg Padilla at EBSCO. I've known him many times, and he is someone that I worked with when we had to pay for an authentication upgrade to Open Athens. So I worked with him regularly on this. And he's they're the kind of people that if you go to them and you say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna have to cancel it, they might even come back with a better price. What people pay varies on institution. It's largely based on what we call full-time student equivalent. But they have a lot of leeway, especially with EBSCO and Gale and those big ones, those huge ones, because they want your business. And they want to be able to tell people, well, I'm doing business with Emporia State, or I'm doing business with Pima Community College, because that helps them and they're developing more clients. So deselection. So if your databases aren't being used, just get rid of them. Try to come up with a cost for use that makes sense. And what I mean by that is access. So for one of our databases, if there's 10,000 hits and it's $10,000, it's $1 per use. And that's pretty good. I mean, I like that. We have a lot of problems with Swank, because Swank films are $250 each. So we'd like to get the cost for use down to about $2 or $3, because that seems like it's more doable. But I've purchased films that have 2 views, and that's $125 per view, right? If it's only, and it's a yearly cost. Remember, that budget is for the year, Yeah, I guessed wrong. I think I've got a lot of views on the library. I bought the library, and I think that's got a lot of views because I've been sharing that. And, our social justice class, I believe, is using it for an assignment. The easiest way to get materials used is to tie them, at least at a university or a college, is to tie them to graded work. And that work will create views. And so we, like Raisin in the Sun with Sidney Poitier is used in Writing 101 or 102, and it's got heavy use. You know, Schindler's List is using in our Holocaust class, and we get 600 views, and we're only paying $250 for that. So it goes way down. There are some films that we, you know, the cost of use is amazing, and others that we eat it and then we cancel them. I just canceled 4 films because they weren't being used. The key is to communicate, communicate, communicate. And I want to click on this example from, yeah, that's good if you can opt out. You know, Swank, we have a package with Swank. We pay $10,000 and we get 50 films. I think that's what it is. So we have to stay at 50 or it goes up. And so we pick 50 films and we try to have them, you know, renew July 1, right? Because July 1's the new fiscal year and everything is fiscally year driven when you're purchasing. So this is a statement from the University of Arizona because they're going through some pretty massive budget cuts right now. So this is a statement from their page, but I want to pull it up and I'm hoping you can see it. Can you see this this web page? Hopefully. Okay, so this is the University of Arizona. It's a mile from, well, a mile and a half from one of our campuses. Our students go back and forth. We have a lot of students that take 6 units at the U of A and 6 units at Pima, or they'll go to Pima and then they'll go to Pima and then they'll go to U of A after they finish at Pima. But see, so they're communicating everything. Actually, the person who wrote this, Michael Brewer, his brother is one of our librarians at Pima. So we collaborate a lot with them. But they put things out there and they tell you exactly what they're doing. Like there's usually a list, like here's a list, resources that will be canceled. So if we click on this, it may come up as a PDF. Okay, so you may not see it. Probably gonna have to log in. But you'll be able to see what they're cutting. And so then the faculty, can go in there and review it. And then they can make a case if they want it back. So this is really informative with a lot of information on here. And that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you communicate, because, you know, with the people that you're serving, they don't want to be blindsided. You know, they don't want to go in there one day and say, oh my gosh, you got rid of World Book. I love that database. And that happened to us. We eliminated World Book and then we didn't do a pretty good job of telling people. And then, you know, somebody really enjoyed that database. We had a comparable product and we shared that with them, but you get used to an interface and you enjoy using it. And then all of a sudden it's not there. And a lot of times this will happen July 1. And that does create some unrest. So I don't know if you've heard of this term, this idea of return on investment. So sell the library. The return on investment of the library is huge. PR is so important. You're absolutely right. Telling your story, you know, I believe that outreach and marketing is the heart of a successful library. You know, I believe collection development will serve you in every way. If they ask you for money back, if you're developing a good collection, it's not going to hurt. We never try to eliminate positions. That's the main thing. Is we hire people, we pay a lot of money to train them. They become part of our family. You know, unless you have a progressive, you know, if you have a situation with an employee that's on progressive termination or corrective action, you know, that's a different story. But you want to make all your people work together. But you know, conflict is going to be part of it, and you have to deal with it. Develop stats that evidence the value of what the library does for the community. Seek testimonial to use in outreach and marketing. When those folks want to volunteer, free help can be good. We love volunteers. They're great. We have a volunteer orientation. You have to vet them, right? I mean, we do a criminal background check on them and we make sure they're on the up and up. And you know, benchmark with your peer institutions and libraries. Public libraries, you know, can look at another comparable public library that serves a similar population. At Pima, we're always looking at Austin Community College and El Paso Community College because they're both HSI. They're in Texas, which is high Hispanic population. So I went to Austin Community College today and looked at their website and looked at their hours when they open up to see what they were doing and if they were going to stay open late. You know, one we'll talk about in a second. But one of the ways you can address a budget cut is elimination of hours, right? That's going to save you some money. But with that, you might lose people. But if you have no other choice, if your materials budget is untouchable and you can't eliminate anything, then you got to look at, okay, what am I going to do next? This community needs analysis is, and I did tell you about the choice example, is so vital. And I had been working on this. We started this working on surveys a long time ago. We used SurveyMonkey. Now we have Google Forms, which is really easy. You can always pay an outside source if you have that money to figure out what your users want. You know, the main thing about libraries nowadays is we've got to give the people what they want. We have to go to the community and say, what do you want in your library, to get them to come in and to identify those users. And a community needs analysis. And there's many online that you can adapt, you know, give them attribution. You don't have to start from scratch. Less is more. When you ask them what they want, you do it in a way so they feel empowered. And when they want to be involved, you let them get involved. They run the library. You really don't want to upset the people you serve, because, you know, at Pima, we have a governing board. A public library might have a library board or a city board. And, you know, with enough grumblings, things can trickle down. It can be, you can have negative effects. Be very intentional and selective about database purchases. That's what I would tell you. When you're looking at your community needs analysis and you see a similar, go in and figure out what meets those needs. You can also leverage library resources from the state library and free internet resources. We've had schools that have gone, you know, eliminate a lot of their databases, their comprehensive databases, and use Google Scholar as one way. And then they up their interlibrary loan budget. So when people want something, so in the budget, we have like an interlibrary loan budget, a line number, and in our local budget for capital, it's under capital, and you can increase that. You could like cancel a database, right? You could say, you know what, we're going to cancel this database. It's a subject specific database. That program doesn't have a lot of students, and we'll take a little bit of money and we'll up interlibrary loan, but you'll still have a deficit of money. So you'll subtract money and it may not be as painful. We purchased a database called the Teaching Channel for our education department. And it was an amazing decision because it's being used and it was reasonable. It wasn't too expensive. Investigate duplication coverage by vendors. So, you know, we have Gale and we have EBSCO. So if you have a subject specific, or if you're paying for a standalone resource such as Choice, it might be indexed full text in one of these databases. So you've got to be a good searcher. You've got to be a good librarian. You got to be able to go in there and see where the coverage overlaps. And that's the big thing, is you'll be working with a vendor and they're like, oh, I'm going to throw all these other databases in. And then you might have a gem in there. You're like, oh, well, I can get rid of this because I get it with this. That requires work, attention to detail, and great spreadsheets, so you know exactly where that information lies. And then you can cancel. And remember, you wouldn't cancel mid-year. You will cancel depending on the contract. You always have to go back to what you signed with them. And at Pima, all of those contracts go through IT and general counsel. So when we make an agreement with a vendor, there's lots of people looking at it, asking the kind of questions we want to hear. So, you know, the challenge is just this. I've seen this, I think, every year that I've worked in libraries where, you know, we've never had our budget increase, but yet, you know, these vendors increase. There's inflationary costs associated with this information. Information is a commodity. We pay for it. And, you know, it gets frustrating when you have something that really works and they raise the price and you got to make a decision. We had a great database called Prep Step, and it's an EBSCO database. And oh, hold on, I'm going to move this down. It's called Prep Step. Learning Express. I bought it. We don't have it anymore. And it was expensive. And they just wouldn't negotiate with us. It's super expensive. And we got usage out of it. Then we found out the public library had it. Well, we're both county, right? Pima County Public Library, Pima County Community College. So we referred our students that want to use this to the public library now. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's free. You have to pay to be a student at Pima to have got to receive it when we had it. Now you just got to get a library card. So we have to know what the public library has as well, because the state library and the public library are free resources generally. Well, somebody pays for them, taxpayers pay for them, but the user generally does not pay for them. Like we just got Overdrive. Are you guys familiar with Overdrive? Have you heard of Overdrive? Yeah, we just got Overdrive because of the pandemic. I don't know how much use we're going to get out of it. We have to promote some leisurely reading, but we got it. And see, you get it through the state. See, that's good. The public libraries have it as well. But we had someone who really wanted to try it. So we'll see how it turns out. We just got it July 1. So here's some questions you need answered. How have community services and materials been affected by cuts already? So you need to know the history of all this. Like, has it been cut every year? Have you been upsetting people every year? And how are you going to market that? What happens if it continues? Are you going to, make a decision that's going to affect you long term? And really, this last one, are you valued? I can tell you, in our county, our during this whole pandemic, Pima County libraries, not the community college libraries, have stayed open. The community college libraries, we all closed, but they've always had limited services. And a lot of our students will go to the county library and because they have multiple branches, and it's a nice place to go. They have time limits on a lot of things, and they have to. But the value, and you create value with your actions. Outreach and marketing and developing relationships and having those cooperative activities with the community that make them want to be a part of you. And it works with the right message. So, sorry, I went too fast. Cutting your hours. So this is what I've seen. We're doing it right now. We're cutting our hours. That's one of the things we're doing, which is going to eliminate the need for help at night, which inevitably could save us some money, right? So it's usually evening and weekend for us because we're a community college. And I don't know about public libraries, but I do know the public library right here is next to my house. It's half miles closed on Saturday and Sunday. It's completely closed. So, and that is a result of the pandemic, where they would have been open before. I think they were open like 1 to 5 on Sunday. And that's largely based on traffic and gate count. So where will job seekers go? Because people who need jobs go into libraries to apply for jobs, right? You're not going to take a paper application anymore. So you've got to think about this and how you market it, because you don't want someone to say, I'm going to go to the library and apply for this job on a Sunday, and you're closed. I got to wait till Monday, but it closes today, and they might have waited for the last minute. Those are scenarios that we see all the time. Do people have free access to computers elsewhere in your community? And at the colleges, generally you have to be a student. They might have some public access computers that have lockdown browsers and limited use, maybe just to the OPAC, the online catalog. But we provide services for people in public libraries that aren't easily replicated. You can't go to a coffee shop in Tucson anyway that has a computer that you could pay to use for an hour. Kinko's might have some printing, but you can't sit there and surf the web. And that's an issue of access. So who will welcome the seniors who spend time in your reference area reading newspapers and magazines? If you don't have staff there, if you decide, hey, well, so cutting those hours can be a huge challenge, and it can have really disastrous effects on it. So I think this is where I do the best, because I have creative ideas for fundraising. And we can take the ones that ALA talks about. These are book-driven ideas. After-school reading clubs, right? You can charge an admission for that. Community book clubs have a donation. Readathons, book readings, signings. So one of the things that the public library did in Kansas was they had donation week, and then they took all the books and they made baskets out of them, and then they sold the baskets at a fair. The one thing you have to know is your state purchasing laws or your county purchasing laws. We do have a book sale, and we sell the books really cheap, and that money goes back into our general fund in the library to help support the library. I've seen this, Washburn did this. If you have bricks, outside the library, then have them, put their name on a brick. My name is on a brick at Washburn. If you're walking around in the library, my name's on a brick. And I think it was $40 or $50 to put my name on that. And those kind of things are feel good. If you have a love for the institution or the library, you want to give back. I'm going to show you one other thing here. So I do want to show you this really quick video. The ALA has a great guide. The one way you can offset budget cuts is to create a friends group. We have a friends group at Pima, at Washburn, we had one. And that's where you seek donations from people. You have to have somebody run it. It could be a volunteer. Usually there's a foundation. Like you can donate to the SLIM program when you're an alumnus. And I would encourage you to do that through the foundation. You can, provide money for a scholarship, and libraries are no different. I don't really have the ability to ask for money a lot. I'm more apt to give it. But if you have a good, solid person that is running the friends, that is good. I can organize the program, but I don't think I close very well. So let me play this quick video. And I'm not going to play all of it.
Hi, my name is Elspeth Hayden, and I've lived in Bloomington for about 5 years. I've been a member of the public library almost since the first day I moved in, and I've always supported their mission. And when I found out about the bookstore, I decided to become a volunteer about 2 years ago now. And then about 6 months ago, I joined the board of the Friends of the Library. We're a nonprofit that raises money to support the library's programming and collections, and the bookstore is just one of our endeavors. So come on with me, I'll give you a tour. So here at the Friends of the Library bookstore, we have a ton of offerings for whatever your interests are. We have magazines, we have books, movies, music, audiobooks, special section just for kids. We also sell things like tote bags and fun socks that are related to literary classics. And we also sell some things like board games, puzzles, and whatever else people donate.
So that's the key there. That's all I'm going to show is, I don't know if you're the kind of person that drives around town and gets rid of your books by putting them in a library book drop, but that is probably the worst thing to do. When we used to check the book drop at Pima, we would get public library books, or we would get donated books that weren't ours. And it creates kind of a messiness because we don't know who donated, unless there's a letter in there like, please take this book. So donations are a great way to create internal auxiliary funding is what we call it. So one way you can offset that those budget cuts is to develop funding, avenues for funding. And that is important, because if you can create money, now you can't count on that money, right? You can't count on it because you don't know how it's going to work. But this is actually in Bloomington, Indiana, where Dr. Brendan Fay went to college. He went to the University of Indiana, Bloomington. And this library, I've been to this library. It is amazing. I mean, they had someone really innovative decide, hey, all these donations we're going to turn into revenue, and we're going to sell them. And then they added things like tote bags, and so they have some local. If you were to sit on the board of the Friends, do not expect a paycheck. That's usually volunteering. You're volunteering your time for the good of your public library to better your community, and those are all feel-good things. If you support a public library and that library is doing well, you feel a sense of accomplishment. I was in the public library maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and I walked in and someone had left a whole bunch of trash by the front door right inside. I was gonna go pick it up, and this guy came out of nowhere, didn't even work there, and he just cleaned up. It's his library. He's just a patron. He threw it in the trash and went back to the computer. It wasn't his trash, but that kind of ownership in the library is created through many, many ways that you develop relationships. So there is a National Library Outreach Day. It was April 7th of this year, and it'll usually be in the spring. And librarians are creative, And you know, when you're looking for money from the community, you know, I mean, it's not hard work. It has to be smart work, and you have to get out there, and you've got to develop relationships with people, with community members. If you go to the West Jordan Public Library in Salt Lake City, well, it's West Jordan. That library is amazing, and they double as a wedding hall, graduation parties. So they have a huge room, and they have the library. So when you're doing your outreach, figure out how you can get people in the library just that one time. Because if you can get them through the door, they come back. We know that. If you come in once, you're going to come in again. And we know that. And the research is clear on that. The Pew Institute does research on library visits, and we just got to get them in. And there's so much good associated with going to a library. At the college level, if you walk in a library, your chance of doing better academically are increased. And every study that I've read says that. So just merely going in the library is, but how are you going to get them in there? And that's where outreach and marketing comes in. I've seen many creative ideas with this. At Washburn, we did a texting contest where we had all the students in, and they were all on their phones, and they texted, and we gave away an iPad. And we had 300 students in there texting, and they had to answer questions, and it was a great time. We did at Washburn, we did a movie night in the library. We brought in an automatic popcorn popper, and it did set off the fire alarm, which wasn't good, but we were able to work through it. So we had movie night right in the library. One of the things, and I would look at Washburn as kind of the Dr. Alan Behrman there has done some great things. Move the librarians, or the advisors in the library, move the faculty trainer in the library. So once you can get more services in the library, then more people can come. Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis, I always call it ooey pooey, but they don't like being called ooey pooey, I found out. David Lewis was the dean there for a long time. He has since retired, and they have the first year experience, which is housed in the library. So if you're going to work in academic libraries or even public libraries, you have to think outside the box. You have to create services. It's not about walking through the door and getting a book anymore. I mean, there are people walking through the door and getting a book, but I need a computer. I need to charge my phone. So we have charging stations everywhere, you know, all across our libraries with charging stations. So, because how many times do you need to charge your phone during the day? You can go right in the library, you can grab a book or whatever, a magazine. We still have magazines. You can charge your phone. So you have to look at these patron-driven behaviors, human behaviors that would get you in there. Coffee shops should be in every library, you know, and maybe you work out a deal where you get part of that funding, and that could offset losing money. Many times you just have to have them come in and provide the services, because they're not going to make a lot of money because the downtime. But then you have in Topeka, you have that coffee shop there that, you know, it's high volume because it's a big library. They have a $13 million budget, I think. And so you have lots of money. When you have lots of money, you can do that kind of stuff. When you have money, you can get money and figure out ways. So I don't know, Liz, do you do any outreach or marketing in your current job? I don't think I can hear you. So I realized this was me talking a lot. I don't so maybe you can type in the chat, Liz, what kind of marketing and outreach do you do in your current job? Well, that's really all I have. We've got about 9 more minutes. Mike, in your classes at Emporia, did you do any outreach or marketing projects? Oh, you're the catalog for the system, so I should only go out and do training and marketing for services we offer. Okay. Are you a triple I school? What is your ILS there at? What ILS do you use? Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Marshall Breeding, who works for Lista, or I think he's a consultant now. He was at Vanderbilt. He has a lot of great information on marking the collection through the catalog. And I'm going to pull him up real quick. And he's someone that is kind of a bigwig in libraries. I mean, he's very, he does the library technology guides. I was in an elevator with him one time at Computers and Libraries, and I had a great conversation with him. But he was at Vanderbilt when I knew him. Yeah, because I was at Computers and Library in 2011, and I think he retired, and now he's a consultant. But he does all the library technology reports. Oh, you got a discovery search overlay. Oh, that's good. Is it a nice interface, or is it intuitive? We use Sierra. Yeah, and that's our overlay. You know, those search interfaces are only as good as the user. That's what I believe. You got to know those control vocabulary, and you know, they're Google S in many ways, but still you need a librarian to help you a lot of times write an effective search string in most of these databases. So that's all I have, Mike. It uses Bitframe and helps gather. Oh, okay. All the formats. Yeah, I mean, you know, EBSCO, I'm a huge EBSCO guy, and I use EBSCO more than I use Gale. I use ProQuest every now and then because we bought a bunch of their databases. We bought one or a few, and then we got a bunch. So I've been using ProQuest lately. And I like that, more of an Amazon Google experience. You know, those are, you know, they know how to do it, and libraries are always a step behind them, especially EBSCO is getting a lot better, and so is ProQuest. So Liz, do you have any questions, or Mike, do you have any questions? I know it's a dry topic. No questions. Okay. Well, Mike, that's all I have. I can go back to the questions.